welcome to Soul Work. I'm your host, AJ White, and it's not going to be the same typical intro today. I got a little different type of episode for y'all. I'm here with a special guest of mine, very close friend of mine. Went through some times together at the school where we were previously at. We'll go into detail kind of later. But just a short, small introduction from our man, Miles Puller. I hope y'all enjoy today's conversation and just kind of use this time to sit back, relax, kind of hear some stories about, some of the things that we experienced. I think it'd be kind of enjoyable for y'all to just listen back, kind of hear some interesting insights and our takes on some couple of topics. But Miles, how you doing, man?
I'm great, man. Thank you for having me on your podcast. I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Miles, honestly, just tell me, run through your days. Like, what are your days like? What things are you doing on a day-to-day basis now from coming out of the previous school that we were at, doing all the things that we were doing? What things are you up to nowadays?
Sweet. So my days are pretty routine, man. I think having a routine is very important if you want to be successful. So my days will start off, I wake up normally around 7 a.m. I'll actually, if the weather's good, I'll go to the beach and watch the sunrise and do a workout right after that. Or I'll just wake up and do a little morning routine here and then hit a small workout. Next, I'm starting to do work. So right now I'm a real estate investor. So researching properties, researching the market, calling my agents, calling my property managers back home to make sure everything is running good, as well as doing government contracting. So looking on SAM.gov, other various agency websites to find government contracts. And then I'm getting my MBA as well. So I'll do homework, schoolwork, things like that.
Right. That's not bad. What got you into, wanting to do real estate in the first place? Like, what even came to mind for that?
Sweet. So that's a great question. So we both played football at the Air Force Academy together.
Yep.
And when I left the Air Force Academy and I stopped playing football, I had a big void inside of me. And I was like, what am I going to do with my time? When I played college football, I was spending 7 hours a day down at the facility
Thanks.
working. And when I got done, man, I just had all this time on my hands. And when I left the Air Force Academy, I was broke. I didn't know what I was going to do with my life. So I
Right.
just started researching what is money. Literally got on Google and my question was, what is money? Fell down this rabbit hole of what money was. I realized most of our financial institution in America is created off of real estate, and most millionaires are created off of real estate. So I knew that's what I needed to get into. And man, I started originally with Airbnbs, transitioned to government contracting and government housing like Section 8. And from there it just took off, man.
Have you ever tried to do or wholesaling before?
Never tried it before, no.
No, I ain't gonna lie. That was probably the hardest thing I've ever done. I did it right as I got out the academy too. Me and Eric Wills. I don't know if you remember him. We had
Yeah.
like a I don't know, maybe it was our feed or whatnot for the week or for the month, but it was all wholesaling. So we were like, all right, let's kind of get into it, kind of see what it's about, see what things we could do. I met up with some real estate agent that helped my family get from California to Texas. And I was talking to her. I was like, hey, you have any insight on wholesaling? Like, how does it work? How does it operate? It's a lot of cold calls that we were doing. So we're calling a whole bunch of people. Man, I've never been shut down so many times over wholesaling. Ever since then, I'm not going to lie, I cut it off. Never did it again.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, man. I have kind of a similar story, but with Airbnbs. So I started my real estate journey doing Airbnbs, and I wasn't trying to own properties. I was trying to sublease.
Mm,
So when I started doing Airbnb, I had to call 79, or excuse me, 80 apartments before I got a yes. So I called 79 apartment complexes if I could Airbnb that apartment. They all told me no, and that 80th one they told me yes.
mm,
So learning how to accept no as an answer and
right.
to continue to keep pushing is very important, man. Very
Right.
important.
Absolutely. But yeah, very side question with that. I thought about real estate. And I know there's a lot of people who really thinking about real estate and whatnot now, especially with, social media. A lot of people are being very creative with finding different houses, finding out different properties of how to film it, getting drones and whatnot to film properties. So I see that all over the place, but kind of doing a lot more thinking, real estate is not really like in my forte just yet, maybe a few years down the road. But I've always thought about that. But something different, going on a more personal side, like what makes Miles Puller? How would you define yourself?
That's a great question. I think how I define me is getting 3% better every day.
Mm,
Um, educationally, spiritually, and physically.
mm,
Um, a lot of people have these super big goals in their life, and
right.
it's like looking at the top of a mountain, and they just sit in sorrow and pity on how they're going to get there.
Mm,
And my mentality is just keeping your head down, staying focused, and staying consistent and disciplined. That's the biggest thing. And if you get 3% better, if you educate yourself every day, if you get closer with God every day, and you take care of your physical body every day, man, in 30 years, 10 years, 5 years, is going to be unrecognizable.
right. I'd agree. I mean, I can see that on a day-to-day basis for a lot of people that don't, or a lot of y'all wouldn't know. Other than if you went to the academy with us, um, you can kind of see it. It's a different type of drive at first when you're going originally into the school. It's a different type of mindset that you have going in, but then once you get there, it's a whole different, it's a whole different thing. It's a whole different area, a whole different realm of life. Um, and then it didn't start clicking to me, more tying into that 3% thing until after getting out the academy. The life is actually pretty much starting for me. I'm no longer being taken care of or whatnot in the military. I don't have clothes and whatnot that I have to specifically wear every day. So I got to find my own outfits. I got to find all of these different things. So when I want to better myself, I have to learn how to branch out. I have to learn how to find out new information and find out new ideas to be able to start the life that I want. So even with that process of getting 3% better, um, do you incorporate a lot of books, a lot of reading and whatnot into your kind of day-to-day life?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's funny you asked that because right when you asked that, I was actually looking at the 48 Laws of Power book you have right there
Oh
in the back.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. But to be honest, man, I've tried the whole reading path and I have read a good number of books, but I'm definitely more of a podcast guy.
yeah.
I would say my most recent and favorite book I read was probably The Power of Habit,
I think I've
just
heard of that.
because yeah, it just teaches you the importance of habit and creating correct habit loops. A lot of people look at like going to the gym as a mundane task or eating healthy is a mundane task, but you
Right,
can legitimately create habits out of these hard things to do. Excuse me. So your brain doesn't even think about it when you're doing it. It's just natural.
right. Uh,
So and then as far as like podcast goes, man, I listen to a wide variety of podcasts. One of my favorite podcasters right now is actually a guy named George Gammon, I believe,
mm,
and he's an economist. And just the way he breaks down the financial market is absolutely unbelievable.
hmm. Yeah, that's something I'm wanting to like, get better at is finding the right podcast that I like because I mean, there's a lot of podcasts out nowadays. Like there are thousands of podcasts, and you can find them over so many different topics. But when I'm finding some, it's like I feel like I'm not finding out information that I'm kind of interested in. I'm watching like Joe Rogan's coming up a lot, but he's like the number one, it's like the number one podcast in the world or something right now. So it's always on my page. And every time I'm hearing information, it's more like I'll listen to, I saw like Elon Musk. I wanted to figure out like how his mindset is because dude is incredibly smart and has Asperger's syndrome. Like he's going through all of these different emotions and feelings and trying to figure out, the proper words to say, the proper things to just discuss about, but he's thinking about all this technology, all these different robots, all these vehicles, and I don't know how he does it. And I'm trying to figure out the podcast that I can kind of just sit down and just listen to, and that's definitely difficult for me.
Definitely. I think it's about finding something that isn't just purely entertainment. Joe Rogan has a great podcast and he has great guests, don't get me wrong,
Right,
but a lot of it is pure entertainment and it doesn't add any value to your actual life.
right,
So I would find podcasts, whatever industry you want to focus in, how you can be better in that industry and how you can build up in that industry. And then, any industry, no matter what you're in, you need to be financially literate. So finding a different type of financial podcast is essential.
mm. Yeah. I know I don't know any by the top of my head who has a specific financial podcast. One guy I do like to listen to, and one of my buddies on previous episode that kind of brought me into was Gary V. Have you heard of him?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, his it's kind of interesting. I started watching his kind of like day in the life videos, kind of the vlogs, and he's doing streaming, he's doing recording on Instagram, he's doing things on Twitch and all these other different platforms to allow people into kind of his life, and him being the businessman that he is, finding out all the different information that they talk about on a day-to-day basis is, I think it's incredible. I think I would love to do something like that, to being involved of, the day-to-day parts of his schedule, what things he's actually doing to, in a sense, steer him to the way of success, but also finding out new ideas for people who are coming to watch to do things like that. And I think that's neat.
100%.
With that, with podcasts, I know you've been on a couple. What were those podcasts like? Like, what things did y'all talk about and kind of discuss?
Yes, I've been on a few different podcasts. One of them was like business podcasts, so talking about my real estate endeavors. Another was about fitness. Another was about college football, so my time playing football at the Air Force Academy and the
Mm.
current state of college football. And then all the rest I did were actually football related as well.
All right, going off of football, how did it come about with you wanting to go to the academy?
That's interesting, man. So I had a few different scholarship offers in high school, Tulane, Texas State,
Yep.
some D2 and D3 schools. And I went on all these visits, man, and nothing quite sparked my interest as much as the Air Force Academy did. It's actually interesting. My dad was in the military 30 years. So when I got the
Wow.
offer from the Air Force Academy, he was like, you're not going there. He's like, I served so you didn't have to. And then we both ended up going on the visit to Air Force and we just fell in love. And I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Dad, like, I don't care what you say, I'm going here.
Right.
And yeah, that's kind of how that happened.
Yeah. I always wonder everyone's experience is kind of going, because a lot of ours are different. Because did you go to the prep school first, or did you go direct?
Yeah, I went to the prep school. So I think the biggest thing for me, man, was their emphasis on it's not a 5 year plan, it's a 30-year plan. And from the time I've been a little kid, I've always had an entrepreneur mind. I've always wanted to be successful. And that's something that really just sparked my interest. I was like, man, like, Texas State and a lot of these schools, people, will go and they won't really get a good degree. And all they're worried about is going to the league in football. But what happens if you get injured? What happens if you don't get to the league? What do you have
Right.
to fall back on? And that's something that the Air Force Academy sold me on.
Because I was originally, I guess, offered, but then getting close to signing day, they were like, "Oh yeah, we're probably gonna have you going to the prep school." But I had no idea
Mm.
prep school even existed, so I was like, "Nah, I ain't going. I ain't going to the prep school." So I took that. I took my SAT 5 times just to make sure I got the score to get straight directly into the academy. And as soon as
Mm.
I took my SAT, the last time I took my SAT, I don't know who recruited you. If it was either, no, we were probably different zones. So I had Coach Cross. I don't know if you remember him
Yeah,
at
yeah.
first. He was my
Mm-hmm.
recruiter. Got in, and the day that I took my test, he went to UNC. So he just up and dipped. And then the day I was signing for National Sign Day was when Coach Weichert was there, the outside linebacker coach. He left the day I signed. So then as soon as all that started happening, I started getting a bad hunch. I was like, I don't know how I'm going to feel about this now. I don't know how things are really going to work out. So I think I went into it kind of already on a different level. I wasn't as excited as I was hoping for, but getting in, meeting the new staff and whatnot, they were all still solid coaches, in my opinion. I didn't get a chance to talk to a whole lot of them. I only have one coach. Me and him don't click very well. Coach Morris, if you hear this, I'm sorry, man, but we just didn't hit it off. Me and him would every day during practice, it would be me and him going at it. And I don't know if anyone ever saw it, but he was always talking mess about me in the meeting rooms. I don't know if you ever get a chance to talk to Isaiah Nunez, because he's the one that told me about it. But I guess he was talking trash about me in the meeting rooms. I've never heard a coach do something like that.
Yeah, it's actually interesting. You said that you had a weird feeling about going to the academy once the coaches left. But I'll be real with you, man. Calhoun has been there so long
Right.
that the culture is ingrained no matter what position coaches are there. It's going to be the same. So, when I was my junior year, that's when Coach Rudd, the defense coordinator, and my position coach left, and man, it was still the same thing. Like nothing changed.
Yeah, I think that's really cool. So I actually called Coach Calhoun like 3 weeks ago. I gave him a call because I'm planning some events and whatnot here soon. I'm having a discussion with him. Me and him been talking back and forth, but I've always always respected his character. He was always very real with me, even since the first day I went on a visit, going on to camps or whatnot. He was always the first person there to meet me, to greet me, and talk with me. So the only reason like my thought process kind of wasn't at peak was just because both of my recruiters had both just up and dipped. But then I was like, I wasn't really worried about the coach because I was coming to play football. I really didn't care who was going to be my coach, but I wanted to play. And I think that, I mean, if it ties into to any athlete who's looking to go into college sports, you, you have to be very adaptable because a lot of things can change very fast, like very fast when you're actually in the process of playing. Because you got the aspects of school, you got the aspects of your own personal life that you got to think about, and just your aspects of your football life. It's a whole different identity.
Yeah, and just to add on that as well, I would say you also need to have a backup plan. You know, a
Yeah,
lot of college athletes, they're so blinded by going to the league, but they don't realize, look, only 1% of high school athletes make it Division One. 1% of college athletes make it to the NFL. So already going to Division One is, you know, your top 1%. Going
right.
to the NFL, you're a whole nother top 1%. It's a whole nother dog. You know, and then you look at your schools, you know, how many people from your school have gone to the league? I think from the Air Force Academy, it's been like maybe 10. And I'm not saying, you know, doubt yourself, but you know, you need to be a realist and you need to have a backup plan. That can be your main goal, but you need to be putting effort into another side goal. So if it doesn't work out, you have another avenue transition to. Air Force Academy, obviously a little different. You go and you get in the military, but
Right.
these other schools like Texas State, Tulane, schools that you don't have a guaranteed job after, man, you gotta build something on the side. It's important.
Right. And Air Force definitely helps you out with that because you have a lot of things set up.
Right.
Right after graduation, you are, I mean, you're pretty much straight to work. You do have a job. So I think that's very different. But I never came in. Something that I actually think about, not often, but I have had the thought about is I wish I would have went to the prep school because I was hearing more from a lot of the stories from the guys from the P. They were like, it was a lot of more preparation. I mean, you got, speaking on the athletics point of view, you got film. You got a lot of times you can actually go play games. You got time to actually play with the team and learn kind of the environment, get used to the guys that you're playing with. Going direct was kind of a different experience. There was a couple of us, and we were a close unit, but we weren't as close with the team just yet. So we're still trying to fall into routine. But going into my freshman year of playing, like, I never really got film, barely really got practice film that you can actually take, other than watching in our meeting rooms and whatnot. So it kind of, not in a sense, lowered my ratings or whatnot when I was transferring because I didn't have any clips, I didn't have any highlights or whatnot of myself. So I was like, man, I wish I would have went to the P and could have got more experience and whatnot, time into it, had a year left. And I know you guys are E3s or whatnot when y'all are at the P, or what rank were y'all?
Yeah, you're an airman. Yeah, I would say honestly, if you're on the border, like you were, for example, of going to the Air Force Academy straight or going to the prep school, I would choose a prep school, man,
Yeah.
because it's going to expose you to everything you need to know for freshman year. You're going to get closer with the coaches, the team. You're going to get legitimate game film from playing these top-ranked JUCOs around the country, and you know from there you can really decide if this is something that you want or you don't.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, you get, you know, an insane amount of benefits.
Right. And that's something I'm still, still finding out to this day. There's something that kind of me and him talk about pretty often now of all the other benefits that the academy has to offer that's not really spoken about. So make sure you ask your questions if you feel like you are wanting to go to a institution like the Air Force Academy, regardless of which one you go to. Always ask your questions and find out some information. But another question on school: where are you getting your MBA at?
Sweet. Yeah. So, my junior year, right during COVID at the Air Force Academy, I really decided that it just wasn't something for me. I couldn't see myself being in the military another 7 years because once you hit your junior year, you have a 5 year service commitment. So you have the
Right.
2 years, junior, senior, plus the 5 years. And I transitioned to FIU, Florida International
Okay.
University in Miami. So I finished my degree, my undergrad in economics online. And then I moved down to Miami 7 months ago, and I'm getting my actual MBA in person at FIU main campus.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I got a lot of family out there who went to FAMU. So all of them are all
Okay.
FAMU over there. So I got a lot of Rattlers and whatnot in my family. But I asked that because I was thinking of, let's say you weren't going to go to the academy. If your experiences now and thinking back to it, what schools would you think you would have attended?
So I probably would have picked Texas State. That was my number two.
Mm,
However, man, I'm so grateful for the experience, even though I'm not in the military and it didn't end up working out in the long run. I changed that. It did work out because the life that I imagined when I was in basic training, going through the things I went through, was this life I'm living right now. So
right.
I'm extremely grateful. I think if I went to Texas State, I would have in a lot of trouble. I wouldn't have had the guidance and I wouldn't have been focused. But at the Air Force Academy, man, it's so strict, it's so disciplined. It teaches you insanely good morals and values, structure, things like that. And I was able to take all of that and transition it and use it into the life I am now. I'm
Right.
living now.
I
Yeah.
agree. With through all of pretty much to even tie with that, with through all of your experiences that you've been through in life, whether it been through injuries, whether it been through struggles with school, struggles with athletics, um, what is your most kind of memorable but inspirable moment that kind of shaped your life going into your mindset and things that you do now?
Sweet. So, as far as entrepreneurship, I would definitely say it was the story I told you about how I called 80 apartment complexes. They all told me no. Even though I don't do Airbnb now, I only have a few left. I pretty much sold all of them off and rolled into other assets. Just getting told no 79 times made me so motivated. And, it taught me you have to be okay with failing. The
Right.
only way you grow and the only way you succeed is if you fail. And I think that moment, when I called the 80th apartment and told me yes, my life just exponentially grew and my businesses blew up. I was able to make really good money. I got out of the slump of, the post football depression,
Right.
and it was something just very powerful for me, man. And then as far as fitness is concerned, I would say it's when I got my second shoulder surgery. So
Mm,
I got two labrum surgeries on the same shoulder from football injuries. And I remember after my second surgery, they're like, man, you're never going to be able to play football the same again. You're not going
right.
to be able to do push-ups, you're not going to be able to do this, that, and the third. And now, man, just being consistent in the gym, stretching a lot, my physique is the best it's ever been in my entire life. Better than when I played Division I football.
Yeah. Even with your second memorable story is kind of very similar to mine. Not, but mine was much earlier in life. Some of you may know, some of you may not know. If you see me walking around with short pants on, you can see I have this huge scar on my leg. So for me, I tore my ACL, LCL, PCL, my meniscus, and my left
Mm.
knee. And going to the doctors, they're just like, yeah, or to sum it up, they're like, this is raps. Like this is all you got. So be lucky that you're still able to walk, that you're able to do all the things that you're doing now, because right now, like you're done. And then he just left, just walked out the room, and that was the information he left me with. But ever since that day, I was like, this is not it. There's no way something that quick, first half of the first game of my junior year just blew it all out, and I never play again. That wasn't happening. I was gonna make sure that was never gonna happen. Um, I came back in 11 months and it was supposed to be like over a year time recovery, and I got back much earlier than people were ever expecting. So it was a kind of a shocking story to a lot of younger athletes who are getting hurt, but a lot of older athletes who are still getting time. So that's how things kind of got shocked for me, because it was the year that I got hurt. It was my 11th month, and then Air Force offered me, like, I got a full ride scholarship for football, and I was like, dude, y'all have no like real highlights of me. Y'all watched me my sophomore year. I mean, there was no size. I was probably like 6'1", maybe 160, 170 pounds. I was like, I don't know what you guys are seeing, but it opened my eyes. Was like something is still greater. Something is still happening in my life that I know I need to accomplish. So that was kind of like my big moment, necessarily for like athletics, but also just life in general. It was like, it was a lot of people telling me it was just, you're done, and you have to learn in your own head to don't count yourself out. Just because somebody else is saying is like, this is over and this is it may not truly be over. So really figure out your information and dive in and learn about yourself, of how hard you're willing to push to get to whatever specific goal, whatever specific milestone that you want to hit. But fall in love with that process of getting there, and that's what definitely got with me. And I know everyone's kind of like a broken record with saying that, like, it's okay to it's okay to fail, it's okay to go through these hard times, because these are the times that you're learning from. And that was definitely something that was hard for me to process, but it took some time, and I slowly started to figure that out. So your second story is very kind of relatable to my life and all my injuries. I won't go into detail about everything that I've torn and whatnot, but yeah, that's very similar.
Definitely. I mean, you are the only person that knows yourself, right? And when people sit here and tell you negative things, right, like the doctor says you're never going to be able to walk again, it's negative energy you're receiving. And energy can neither be created nor destroyed, only transferred, right? So if you're receiving all this negative energy from doctors, from business partners, business deals not going the right way, you can either take that energy and sorrow and be upset, or you can convert it to positive energy and grow from it.
Right. And it that can be a little hard to find sometimes, of finding those people. I posted on my story of say hello, say how are you to some random person, somebody that you haven't met before, and have a conversation, because you never know what things you're actually going to hear. So in stories like in our cases of our injuries and the things that we've kind of been through, that could be another motivator to other people, and kind of be the good that's provided for your life, to actually bring the encouragement and new type of wisdom to your life too.
100%. 100%. I think networking is the single-handedly best thing to grow, hands down. I have a lot of students in my MBA class that are stressing about jobs right now.
Mm,
Job market, especially for people in the business field, is
right.
quite competitive, man. And they're all stressing because they're sending 100 applications on LinkedIn and all these other
Facts.
job websites. I'm like, man, you need to get out and meet people face to face. That is
Right.
the only way to go. Only way, because a lot of these companies are using AI to read um, your resumes, and your one piece of paper does not define me. One piece of paper doesn't show my work ethic, doesn't show how good of an employee I would be.
Right.
The only way you're going to be able to do that is by meeting somebody face to face and showing them your true character.
Right.
My life, once I started networking with the right people, putting myself in the right environments, man, it completely changed.
Yeah. And even how have you been able to go to these events or go to these socialized meetings and being able to meet people face to face? Like, how are you finding out about some of those things?
Great question, man. Great question. I would say my biggest advice for young men is to find a gym in your area, the nicest gym, the most luxury gym. It might be $200 a month, but I promise you, it is 100% worth it, because
Mm,
you're going to be around business owners, professionals, CEOs, things like that. And when I sit here and say, "Oh yeah, I pay $250 a month for a gym membership," people look at me crazy, but they
right.
go out on the weekends and buy 5 drinks, and that's $250 right
Right.
there. Don't go out and drink for one weekend. Take that money, put it into a gym membership. Not only are you getting physically stronger, but you're surrounding yourself with like-minded people. And people in gym communities, bro, are uh, normally pretty nice, right?
Right.
Y'all have similar mindsets, y'all have similar goals, and all you gotta do is start a conversation. It's not that hard, and you never know where that conversation could take you.
Yeah, a gym is another home. Like, a gym is another home for some people. Some people spend 3 to 4 hours in the gym, and the majority of the time of your day, you're with all these random people. Why not get to know them? Why not figure out, what things they're kind of doing, which can actually help you out later down the road?
100.
They could be your
Yep.
next contact for your next deal. It's something very interesting with just the people that are just around you. So don't be afraid to go speak to people in person. It might be awkward or whatnot at first, but at least you're getting out there and going to do it.
100%. Especially in major cities, man. You have Equinox. I'm down here in Miami. You have Anatomy. These higher, exclusive level gyms. Man, the people you meet is absolutely insane.
Yeah,
Compared to when I lived in Houston a year ago, I was going to LA Fitness. I wasn't meeting anybody
yeah,
because the gym membership was $15.
yeah.
It's 100% worth the investment. 100%. The ROI is infinite.
Yeah. And just to kind of wrap things up too. I want to end on kind of like a reflection note, just kind of doing like a little check-in for the both of us. Um, I want you to give a low of your past week and then finish out with a high. What's something that you're hoping for in this next week that you're hoping to accomplish, or something that you previously accomplished last week that has just been a high pivotal moment for you?
Mm. So I'll start with the low because you always got to end on a high
Yeah.
note. The low of my week. This morning, I didn't do my normal morning routine. I kind of had a lazy morning. So I would say that was the low. I have a checklist in my phone. It legit maps out my day from start to finish. And every time I get done with the task, I check it. And my first two tasks of my day, I didn't do it. So that was L for me.
Mm,
However, how my week will end, the highlight of my week, I'm currently working on closing another deal in Houston for a Section 8 property. So hopefully, I'll be able to put in an offer by the end of the week. I've been going back and forth, excuse me, with about 4 or 5 properties. So, that will end my week on a super high note because I've been waiting for a while.
yeah, that's good. That's solid.
What about you?
To finish mine, the low of my last week, I would say, so part of my routine as well, kind of with yours, is learning how to wake up again, wake up early again. Once I got out of the academy, I wasn't waking up 5 o'clock, 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning anymore. But I'm slowly getting back in the routine again of, this is, I got to start my day because I only have so limited amount of time. Like I do not have all of the time in the world. So why am I wasting it away? Spending extra time sleeping in, spending extra time just laying in my bed, being on my phone, doing things that are not actually being truly productive to my life. So last week I had slacked off my Thursday, Friday, being up in the morning, still trying to get content out, but I didn't make use of all the time that I needed. Other different low, had some family related things that were going on, but that still kind of shapes my head into seeing how my family dynamic works, and I love the dynamic that we have and the support system that we kind of have. But the high, I got to see a lot of my family over the past couple of weeks. So seeing relatives that seen me since I'm yay high and whatnot, seeing all those people that haven't talked to me for 16, 17 years, getting to meet side of my family that I never really get the chance to speak to on a day-to-day basis. So that's pretty much been my high. And to finish out this week, planning out some new episodes and content and whatnot that I'm very excited about. I think this podcast could be something huge. Not to like toot my own horn or nothing, but I really think this could be something crazy. With this little series, just kind of get a chance for people to have a discussion with one another and listen to the different types of stories from different backgrounds, different diversity, different ethnicities, and hear all the different stories that people have to offer. So when people are needing help, let's say for you for real estate, people are like, oh, I remember that Miles Puller episode, and I can reach out for any type of questions that I need with you. So I kind of want to be that liaison to people. I want to be that help to everyone around the world.
Definitely, man. I love it. I love it. I'm excited to see the podcast grow with me. I know you're a super hard worker, and I definitely believe in your vision, man.
I appreciate that, and I'm excited to see the work that you have coming. If all of y'all could check out on Instagram, Miles Puller, you'll see all of the different type of content in the fitness realm, but extravagant information. Love to watch every message and whatnot that he posts. But you can watch his journey because he is actually broadcasting it to you. So take a time to tune into a little bit of that information. But check us out on Instagram. Check us out on all social media platforms, Apple Music, Spotify. I am on iHeartRadio, actually. So if you didn't know, I'm over there as well. So take time to just check out some information on us. But Miles, thank you so much for having a lovely conversation. I'm glad we got to kind of catch up and actually have a conversation and talk. So I appreciate this time and moment that you're here with us today.
Definitely, man. Thanks for having me. And, I hope in the future I can get back on and, maybe share a couple of my deals more in depth on the business side. I think it's something that your viewers will love to hear. So,
yeah, absolutely. Well, I hope you guys have a great evening, and I will see you guys honestly the next day because you'll see a different type of episode than the next upcoming day. So I hope you guys have a great evening, and I'll see you soon.